Hi guys, welcome back to episode 5 in our Gallivant series. Our, of course, meaning myself and the lovely Jon Snow, who you'll find over on Instagram at Scented Snowdrops. Please pop over there and give him some love and say hi. He posts regularly all the time and he talks about an array of different fragrances, and he always uses like a moving image, which I find really, really cool. A bit like something out of Harry Potter, you know what I mean? So definitely head on over and check out Jon, but not before you've heard all about London from Gallivant. And here we have London, of course. London is the one I assumed I'm going to resonate with this one the most out of all of them, being that I am, of course, an English gal, and London being the most familiar to me out of obviously all the other destinations. I figured this is going to be one that I'm going to probably connect with, but we're going to get into that. So the description for London: a green floral leather, touch of grit and a dash of glam. And on the website it actually has the same inscription, but it has rain or shine above it. Though currently I'm wishing for more rain and less shine. So just a quick shout out to Nick Steward. He's obviously the creator of Gallivant. Congratulations to Nick on having London as a finalist for the Olfaction Awards 2018. Okay, let's talk about some notes. Just going to pop that over there. The head is cucumber and violet leaves. The heart is rose de may absolute, rose oil and orris root, and the base is suede, leather, sandalwood, patchouli and cedarwood. So it opens out very watery and very, very green. And on my skin, it's a medicinal edge to this. It is very watery. It's definitely very green. It's a very fresh green scent. And I do find it to be very slightly medicinal. Now, I've only just sprayed it here, just to give myself a reminder of the opening. So yeah, it opens very green and very watery, but there is also a very musky scent in here as well. It's as though you've got a ton of stems and leaves in water, but not quite getting the scent of the flower heads yet. It's just really all about the green. Quite a clean scent. It's also got a nice fresh sharpness in there as well. Even though cucumber is actually in the head of this fragrance, I don't really get the cucumber until later on, but I do start to get some of the patchouli that starts to come through. I think the sort of combination of patchouli and violet leaves gives it a very slight mintiness. And the presence of that mintiness really makes me think of Flora Botanica by Balenciaga. This scent really does remind me of that fragrance in the opening. Now, as that sharp, minty, slightly musky, slightly medicinal opening subsides, it does soften. It does soften a bit. And you do start to get the idea of florals coming through. I don't personally detect rose, which I really should, considering how much rose is in here. And we're talking about rose de may absolute and rose oil. I find the cucumber quite a key player here, actually, and it gets stronger and stronger with that cucumber. And in the end, I actually find the patchouli and the cucumber the most dominant notes on my skin. Overall, I find this to be quite a sparkling but sour green scent, with that sort of patchouli dryness running through it as well. It makes me think of a G&T with a slice of cucumber floating in it. And maybe Stuart had that in mind when he thought about London. It's quite a sort of chic, modern drink you probably would find someone drinking in London. It also really makes me think about London Underground and the flower stalls that you see. In particular, the Victoria Underground station. And there's a certain spot you go through, and it's very old. It's like there's a brick wall, like a small feature where there's a brick wall, and you just sort of go through one bit and you come out into the underground, and it's got a very atmospheric smell. And if I think of that scent along with a flower stall sitting just next to it, and as all the commuters kind of rush past that spot and blow the air up, and you're getting all the air of the water and the green, slightly sour, slightly damp, also fresh, sort of that freshness competing with a very slight musky dampness of the underground. That's kind of what this scent reminds me of. I suspect the G&T analogy with a slice of cucumber is probably slightly more appealing if you want a good idea of how this fragrance is. And I think that's why it's a popular one, because it does make you feel like you're sitting in London drinking a G&T with a slice of cucumber. Personally, for me, I'm not a fan of patchouli or cucumber. And unfortunately, that does seem to end up that way on my skin. There is a lot more going on with this scent than just patchouli and cucumber. I know there is, I can smell it. There is a lovely wash of florals, but I get more of a white floral wash as opposed to a rose. But because I think you're more sensitive to the notes that you don't like, clearly, because obviously they're the ones that you're going to notice more. And the patchouli and the cucumber, for whatever reason, sits quite dominantly on me. And for that reason, it's just not my style of scent. Although I'm not a fan of patchouli, I can smell the quality of the patchouli in this fragrance. It reminds me of a lot of luxury, high-end niche fragrances that I've tried that have a very similar dry down in patchouli. Overall, I find it to be a very vibrant, green, fresh, slightly bitter, slightly sour, kind of luminous scent actually, with a very soft flow of florals and a cucumber and patchouli dry down. A modern and fun scent to wear around London town. So, I wonder what John will think of this one. Let's head over to Scented Snowdrops and find out what he thinks of London and find out what we'll be doing for our next Gallivant fragrance. And that's all from me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Look forward to you all joining me on episode 6 of our Gallivant series. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon on the next one. Over and out.
Okay then, thanks Lizzie for that. So Gallivant London and my take on it. Before I kind of get into it, I'll do my usual London facts, though Lizzie had a few. First thing about London that maybe not a lot of people outside the UK know is that it is in fact the third capital of England, Britain, whatever you want to say. The first capital was of course founded by the Romans, and that was Colchester. And then when the Frenchy, German, Anglo-Saxons sort of built a capital city, that was Winchester. And it wasn't till I think the 12th century that London actually became the capital. Also, a weird thing about the Great Fire of London, apparently only 6 people died. However, what's not mentioned in that is that women weren't counted, and it's very likely peasants weren't counted. So I imagine it was a lot more than 6 people. And talking of the Fire of London, the great diarist Samuel Pepys, he buried his cheese while London was burning. Nice useful man there. Not his diaries as you'd expect. And the tower that everyone calls Big Ben, I think Big Ben is actually the bell, and the tower is called Elizabeth Tower. And finally, the Tower of London has 6 ravens, and they have their wings clipped, and it always has to be 6 ravens there, or I think that England falls down a black hole or something. There's some stupid, ridiculous superstition about it. So they clip the poor bugger's wings so they can't fly off. So that's a little few facts about London.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as part life.
Now obviously I don't want to repeat exactly what Lizzie said. She kind of went into more detail with the notes and stuff, so I'll just kind of go through what I get. I think, like Lizzie, it opens quite green but sweet, and that's possibly the cucumber, and like a leathery rose. I've not long resprayed it, and yeah, I think that the rose is a little bit leathery, a little bit smoky, which sounds weird, but it is what it is. And it's very unique actually. The greener element kind of fades and then comes back. You could definitely tell there's 2 roses actually, because there is a sweeter, jammier one on top of the very green, rosy feel about it. It is, the rose is lovely, but as it gets greener and greener, it gets further and further away from my kind of tastes. And again, I don't know whether that's the cucumber or the kind of the roses, or maybe the patchouli that gives it this kind of greener feeling. And I'm sure, I don't know if it's it's not listed, but is there maybe a bit of geranium, because it's kind of that herbaceous kind of floral kind of touch. That geranium's very green to me, like a natural geranium. So I don't know, maybe. Also, the violet leaf I think gets stronger as it goes on a bit, and it's quite sharp, and it kind of does balance a kind of waxy floral kind of things, and maybe I get a bit of the orris giving it a slight powdery touch. The leather is certainly very well blended into it, and I do get it, but much later on in the fragrance. And this one does last and linger a long time. I actually think it's possibly the strongest so far of them. Now, as you can probably tell, I didn't love it. In fact, I really struggled with bits of it. But I'm saying that this was obviously a finalist for an award. It is a very well put together, very brilliant scent. And I think Lizzie kind of hit it on the head, that it does kind of represent London quite a lot. Now I get more so than a tea kind of feel. I think it's probably the violet leaf as well. Gives it more of a kind of gin smell to me, a little bit boozy, a little bit more gin-like. I don't know where that's come from. Yeah, it is a very good fragrance, and it's for someone who likes a kind of greener rose, which is of course popular, and it's quite fresh. And I've wore it on and off probably about 4 or 5 times because I've struggled with it so much. So and the weather's quite weird here at the moment. So it has been in all weather conditions, and it does actually work in the heat, and it works quite well in the kind of cooler weather. So all in all, I think this is a brilliant fragrance. It just wasn't for me. It's the one I've enjoyed the least so far. But that doesn't mean it's bad, and that's personal taste. So okay, thanks Lizzie. Okay, so here's the remaining 3. No idea what. I think I picked the right 3 anyway. Right, okay, so next up we will be doing Berlin. So this is quite an interesting one. There's a lot of mixed opinions on this one. So yes, Lizzie, Auf Wiedersehen, hallo, guten Tag, blah blah blah. We shall be doing the wonderful Berlin next. Looking forward to it.